And this is exactly what you don't want to do with your $1,200 stimulus check right now. What's up everyone, David here with Free2Be, and thank you for joining me for another video. Now today I want to talk to you about 7 things you should not be doing with your stimulus check. These are things that you should be avoiding at all costs because your money can be used better elsewhere. So let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about these. Now all 7 of these items are pretty important, so you're going to want to watch this entire video. Now as always, real quick before we get started, if you are new to this channel, please take a moment and click the subscribe button down below. It really means a lot to have your support. I cover financial literacy on this channel, as well as tracking my progress to financial independence. And hopefully by doing that, I'm creating a blueprint with valuable information for others to use. And if you're not new, thank you so much for coming back. I really do appreciate your support. Again, it really does help encourage and motivate me to keep putting out these videos every single week. So thank you for coming back. All right, so let's get right into the 7 things you need to avoid doing with your stimulus check. So the first thing, which is probably the most important thing, is avoid going on shopping sprees. Yes, it's nice to have a nice little $1,200 bump, but you don't need to go blow it on a brand new HD TV. You don't need to go and clean out your wardrobe and spend that money building a brand new one. You don't need a new iPad or an iPhone. Do not waste your money on things, on luxury items that you don't need right now. So if you can avoid it, avoid it. This is not the time to be going on shopping sprees. Look, a lot of us are cooped up in our homes right now and with nothing but time, and really only access we have to the outside world, only connection we have is online through the internet, and makes it really easy to go on there and shop. But please avoid doing that at all costs, because you're going to really blow that money on something that was really unnecessary. Now, the second thing you want to avoid doing with the stimulus check is putting it all towards debt. Boom, mind blown, because normally I would say make sure you're paying down your debts first. But in this scenario, if you do not have an emergency cash fund, do not pay your debt. Put that money aside for the emergency, because there are lots of other benefits to this kind of situation that we're in right now. And one of those is that a lot of the credit companies are willing to work with you to either reduce your interest rates or put your payments on pause or eliminate the interest rate altogether for a short period of time. So what you should be doing is putting the money aside in an emergency fund and then reaching out to those credit companies and seeing if they're willing to work with you. And most likely they will be willing to work with you, in which case then it's like a double bonus, because you'll be able to pay down the credit a lot faster and you have now established an emergency fund for yourself. So while normally I would say make sure you put any extra money you have to pay down high interest debts, to pay down your debt in general, in this situation, I don't think that is the smartest play. You should definitely put your money towards an emergency fund if you don't have one, and then try to figure out creative ways, given the circumstances, to lower those interest rates on the credit cards that you have, on any kind of credit that you have, and then pay that down that way. Now, the third mistake you want to avoid to do with this money is to try to time the market. This market is absolutely crazy right now, and none of us really have a real reason or explanation to why it has been so volatile. There's no reason for certain stocks to be up right now, specifically like the cruise lines. Cruises are shut down indefinitely. Maybe some of them come back at the end of summer, but there's no reason for those stocks to be up. We don't know. The timing is crazy, and you're not really going to be able to effectively time the market. And a lot of us do not have that much experience playing the stock market. We just know that when it's down, it's a good time to buy and it's a sale. Don't make any foolish decisions like that. Take your time, do some smart diligence before you invest, and do not ever try to time the market, especially right now with that extra check that you have. It's just not a smart move. And this is not me discouraging anyone from investing that money. I think you could invest it if you have an emergency fund in place and you have paid down your debt. You could use that money in investments, but don't try to become a day trader if you don't have any experience doing that. You're gonna probably lose the money. Now, the fourth mistake to avoid with the stimulus check is just thinking about the here and now. Yes, this whole thing is pretty scary, and it's easy to think about, hey, what if I don't actually get to ever retire? What if the world kind of falls apart in the next few years? That's a very short-sighted way to think, because I do agree that it is a scary time, but I don't think that we should be forgetting about 10, 20, 30, 40 plus years down the road. We should still be planning for that, and taking something as little as 10, 15% of that stimulus money and putting it in something like an IRA, 401k, that could pay huge dividends down the road. So don't think about just right now, because recent studies have shown that Americans 55 and older, a large majority of them don't have adequate retirement savings. So why don't you think about that a little bit as well? And you can have a little bit of short-sightedness when it comes to your spending right now, but also still continue planning for the future. Don't just blow the $1,200 on some stuff right now because you don't think that there is going to be a retirement for you. Especially if you're young, there's still plenty of time to recover from this financially. There's plenty of time to build retirement, and use that money to your advantage. Put it aside for your future, because there's probably going to be a future for all of us. So let's just think about that as well and not be so focused on the here and now. Now, the fifth mistake to avoid with this stimulus money is letting you kind of fall into a false sense of security and just kicking back and just relaxing. That shouldn't be the focus either, because while it is nice to get a little bit of bump, if a family loses its breadwinner, 100 stimulus checks wouldn't really solve the problem. 200, 300, it doesn't matter how many stimulus checks come. A, they couldn't come fast enough, and B, they'll never really be able to supplement the breadwinner's income. So think about it this way. Yes, it's a nice little bump, but you should really be looking out for your family's safety and just your financial stability as a family. If you are the breadwinner for your family, if you're not the breadwinner, whatever the case may be, you should be thinking about the long-term play. Yes, it's nice to have $1,200. Yes, it's nice to have $2,400. However much you ended up getting with the stimulus package, that is a nice little bonus. But you should also be thinking long term. Again, it's nice to have life insurance policy in place for your family. Continue saving, continue investing. So basically what I'm saying is, just because you got a stimulus check doesn't mean it's the time to go back, sit back, have a cold one and relax. It's just not the time for that right now. Now, the sixth mistake you want to avoid with your stimulus check and using those funds, and that is blowing it all on global, regional, national chains, any kind of big corporate store. Now, it is easy to obviously go to something like a Target or a Walmart and get all your shopping done in one place. But think about it this way, the $1,200 that you got is a bonus, and you can actually make it go a lot further by spending it at the local mom and pop restaurants or a small grocery store that might be, servicing your community locally. That money will go a lot further if it's dispersed among that group, as opposed to going and blowing it on 4 meals at the Cheesecake Factory or a bunch of groceries at Target. Try to identify local stores, local brands, and help the community with that money that way. If you are going to spend it, try to spend it locally and try to make the most impact to your community with the money. And finally, the seventh thing you want to avoid doing with the stimulus check is stockpiling non-essential items, pointless items that we don't even need. Now, I made another video about this a few days ago where there were items that we don't necessarily need to be spending money on right now during the pandemic, and that's things like bottled water and a bunch of other things as well. And I'll link the video if you haven't seen it. Go definitely check that one out, because there's just some useful information in there in general. But now is not the time to be hoarding unnecessary items. Don't need to blow the entire $1,200 on 2 years supply of toilet paper. That doesn't make any sense. You can use that money in a much more better way. So think about what you're going to be doing. Take a moment and plan out the money. Imagine it was a paycheck that you really did rely on, and see how you would budget it that way. Don't just think about it as extra money. Think about it as something that you needed. So use it accordingly, use it smart, and don't just go buy anything just to stockpile 50 cans of beans, 100 bottles of water. You don't need to do any of that. All right, guys, so basically those were the 7 things that you want to avoid doing with your stimulus check. If you were fortunate enough to get one and still have those funds, maybe take a second, think about what you really need out of it. Think about the way you can maximize its value. Yes, $1,200 is not a life-changing amount, but if you use it the right way, it really could be valuable to you, to your family, to your community. So just think about creative ways that you can use this money to get the most out of it. All right, well, that's all I had for this video. If you did enjoy this one, please let me know in the comments down below. Give me a like if you want to do it that way, that's fine. If you're new to the channel and haven't done so already, please take a moment and just click the subscribe button down below. It's completely free to do so, and it really just helps support me and the channel. And we'll see you next time.